Suspect in New Orleans attack is identified as a Texan and had an ISIS flag with him. In a YouTube video from 2020, the man identified as a suspect said he had been born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and had served in the U.S. military. We watched that video already. Shamsuddin Jabbar is his name, 42 years old, a native of Texas who has served in the U.S. Army, did a lot of IT work for the U.S. Army as well, and also was a real estate guy. The Federal Bureau of Investigation said it was examining an Islamic State flag that was found in the truck used in the attack, that it believed Mr. Jabbar was not solely responsible. Several improvised explosive devices were found and disposed of, officials said. CNN is also CNN breaking news on the Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside of the Trump Tower. Is being investigated as a possible act of terror as well. Just in, a law enforcement official briefed on that Tesla Cybertruck explosion outside of Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas tells CNN that the incident is now being investigated as a possible terrorist act. Police say it took place at around 8:40 a.m. local time. There was one person inside the vehicle who died, and 7 other people suffered minor injuries. The FBI is involved in this investigation, and we are going to stay on top of the story and bring you updates as we. This happened right on New Year's, just before the Sugar Bowl game. We still both have Mardi Gras in the Super Bowl that our city of New Orleans is hosting in the coming months. We're shaking. Yeah, so here's the Tesla explosion. Oops, nope, that's just Elon Musk with his human shield at the Trump New Year's celebrations. Breaking, video shows Tesla Cybertruck explosion at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, cause unknown. Police confirm the driver was killed in the Cybertruck explosion at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. 7 others were injured. I believe he exploded a bunch of fireworks in the Tesla, the person. Or all the secondary explosions that you see do not play. No, this doesn't show anything. You think it looks like a lithium, could be battery cells, I guess. That's what lithium does. So one thing I don't understand also is that, like, even if it wasn't like purposely exploded, I thought it was confirmed that there were fireworks, but even if it was like random lithium battery explosions, I thought that this type of stuff was like impossible to put out in such a short period of time. Of course, never let a crisis go to waste. Senator Kennedy demands answers for the New Orleans truck attack. We're going to go back to the morning press conference in Louisiana. Senator Kennedy also made an appearance. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
I wish I understood better why bad things happen to good people. If I make it to heaven, I'm going to ask. For those people who don't believe in objective evil, all you have to do is look at what happened in our city early this morning.
Well, you will not be seeing the pearly gates, Senator. That much I know.
I am, if this doesn't trigger the gag reflex of every American, every fair-minded American, I'll be very surprised. I'm here because these are my people. I'm here because these are my people's friends. I'm here because there are a lot of Louisianians that are scared at night. I don't want them to be. There's a lot of information going around. Some of it is actually true. Some of it isn't. The federal government is now in charge of this investigation. By that, I mean the White House, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice. I have not talked to the FBI. Maybe they've talked to my staff. I don't know. I did talk to the Secretary of Homeland Security a little while ago. And I told him that with all the respect I could muster, that we expect to put the full force and resources of the federal government behind this investigation. Our state troopers, our local police departments, our sheriffs, we've got many sheriffs here today, have been terrific so far. The federal government is cooperating with them. I hope that will continue. Here's what I want to ask from the federal government. Catch these people, and then tell the American people the truth. Now, I don't want you to tell us yet anything that's going to interfere with your investigation. And there are things that I've been told that I think are true that I'm not sharing with you today because it could interfere with their investigation. But after we get to the bottom of this, they need to tell the American people the truth, and the people of New Orleans the truth, and the people of America the truth. I think the mayor and the governor are.
There are potentially other people that were working alongside the main perpetrator. That's what he's talking about. Gremlo said earlier on a stream that he'd love to come on your stream to talk about this since he's really familiar with New Orleans politics. I don't know if he's around right now, but I mean, I'll see in a little bit.
Very wise to postpone this ball game for 24 hours. There's just too much stuff we don't know, and it's just not worth it. But
is he insinuating that it was CIA? I doubt that Senator Kennedy would insinuate that this is a CIA thing, because the perpetrator is a Islamic convert who potentially got radicalized and had sympathies for ISIS. In that regard, it is actually closer to this being the work of the CIA if you are a conspiratorially minded person, considering the ISIS affiliations with the American State Department. But a person like Kennedy would never say that for a situation like this. He would only say that if it was a white supremacist, anti-government extremist or something like that. I think he's insinuating that this was the result of illegal migration. I don't know.
My final point is, I will promise you this. I will, when it is appropriate and this investigation is complete, you will find out what happened and who was responsible, or I will raise fresh hell, and I will chase those in the federal government who are responsible for telling us what happened, like they stole Christmas.
All right, so that's another clip of him.
Can I say something right quick? Tell me who you're with. WSU. Okay, and CBS.
CC's over here on the right.
Oh, that's an unusual position.
I don't get it.
You wouldn't. Look, can I say?
Is he fucking drunk? Nah, this is just how he is all the time. That's just how he carries himself. To paraphrase Groucho Marx, John Kennedy here may talk like an idiot, look like an idiot, but don't let that fool you. He really is an idiot. He's not. You want to know something, guys? You know how we sometimes speculate that streamers and content creators portray themselves as much dumber than they actually are in an effort to fucking do content and maybe even shelter themselves from additional scrutiny? Like, oh, he's just a dumb guy. John Kennedy is one of the perfect examples of that. Not only is he an Ivy Leaguer, but he's also a Rhodes Scholar. Okay? So the whole, like, I'm a country bumpkin, oh, don't listen to me, I don't know what the hell's going on, that's just simply a weaponization of incompetence. He literally is a Rhodes Scholar. Okay? He is a Rhodes Scholar. So all of that is just an act. I'm going to repeat his background for you, just so you understand. He went to Vanderbilt University to get a bachelor, went to University of Virginia to get his JD, and then he went to Magdalen College in Oxford. Okay? At Vanderbilt, Kennedy studied philosophy, economics, and political science. He was elected president of his senior class and named Phi Beta Kappa. He graduated from Vanderbilt. He received a Juris Doctorate in 1977 from University of Virginia School of Law. There, he was the executive director of the Virginia Law Review, elected to the Order of the Coif. In 1979, he earned a Bachelor of Civil Law master's degree with first-class honors from Oxford University. Wait, I thought he was a Rhodes Scholar too. Is he not? But yeah, he graduated. He went to Oxford University. The attacker was brainwashed by religion. That's what happened. Yeah. Hasanabi, he's upset. His people are being attacked. Can't blame him. His people? Brother, we're all Americans. You know that, right? Like, what do you mean his people? What the fuck are you talking about, his people? We are all Americans. Okay? When a terror attack happens on a New Year's Eve celebration with people from different backgrounds from all around the country, it is not a specific attack against, I don't know. I don't know what you're fucking saying here. You're thinking of Bill Clinton. He was a Rhodes Scholar. Oxford is Rhodes. Okay. So he's a Rhodes Scholar. Rhodes Scholarship recipient. He's saying the attacker was Muslim like you. Chatter was being a racist. Yeah. Okay. Let's hear what Wolf has to say.
I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room.
This is something that happened 5 years ago. What does it matter now? What, the 2020 bombing? I only brought it up because the timing of that was also suspect, and we didn't fully understand what happened in that situation either.
People and injured dozens of others. We're also learning more about the driver of the truck and his background. CNN's Kyung La is standing by with new reporting, new information just coming in. But first, let's go to CNN's Omar Jimenez, who's on the scene for us in New Orleans. Omar, first of all, give us the latest on the investigation and the video now being reviewed by authorities.
Yeah, Wolf. So for starters, we knew the FBI did not believe that this driver was solely responsible for what happened, to use their words. And we also knew from them that they found an ISIS flag in the vehicle along with a potential IED.
This is so weird, dude. Why do people do this? Close up of the officer's weapon in New Orleans. What is that pink stuff? It's just light, dude. It's light. Okay.
Investigators have reviewed
25,000 likes.
3 men and a
it's
woman
just
who
light.
they believe may have been involved in placing suspected IEDs in the French Quarter, and that investigators also found writings that they believe support their going theory that this was inspired by ISIS. Of course, comes on top of the flag that was found as well. And we know the FBI has said for most of the day that they have been investigating this as an act of terrorism. Now, there are also questions about how exactly this vehicle got around barricades that were installed years ago to sort of to try and prevent this very thing from happening. Well, we're getting a glimpse of kind of how this happened, specifically from some surveillance video from a business across the street from the key intersection here. It's actually the intersection behind me from where I'm standing. You see a white pickup truck come down Canal Street, essentially behind where I am now. And then a police officer, what appears to be, is sort of blocking Bourbon Street. But what you do see is that white pickup truck goes around that police officer and then goes into Bourbon Street, where, again, we know this attack unfolded. And we got a little clue from law enforcement today who told us that, well, those barriers just weren't working.
The driver didn't get away. He got out with a gun and then got shot and killed in the gun battle.
Instead, they put
that took place afterwards
in front of some of those.
I think 2 cops were injured as well, right, in the process.
Some of this happening, but that this person went around these vehicles onto the sidewalk and was able to evade some of those barriers. Now, there were a lot of extra people in town for a big college football game between Notre Dame and the University of Georgia. We also know from a shop owner that the crowds were still packed on the streets at around 3 a.m. when this attack actually unfolded.
Why are you reporting if you know none of the details?
We know that football game was pushed an extra day, but at the heart
of this,
are you
talking to me or are you talking to CNN? Because I'm not reporting on anything. I'm not there. CNN is reporting on the details that we do know of that is confirmed.
After this attack that happened in just a few minutes, Wolf.
So awful and so sad indeed. Omar, I want you to stand by. I want to bring in our senior investigative correspondent, Kyung La, right now. Kyung, what more
Why is this declared terrorism? Dude, if this was a white dude, okay, who drove a pickup truck into this crowded Bourbon Street New Year's celebration, okay, New Year's Eve celebration, it would still be an act of terrorism. Terrorism as a definition is intentionally vague and oftentimes politically applied towards enemies of the American state. Having said that, however, it like in the most basic, trying to kill as many civilians as possible in an effort to, I don't know, create like a race war, or in an effort to say that you love ISIS, for example, would still fit that same would still fit that same definition. Objectively, this is, there's nothing weird about considering this an act of terror.
Titled Leadership. Now, authorities do confirm that he served in the U.S. Army. We do have a picture of him from that photo that was posted on Facebook from the U.S. Army. This is a picture of him in 2013. It's a Facebook post from the U.S. Army again, and he's identified in this photo as an Army Staff Sergeant working as an information technology team chief for the 82nd Airborne Division's 1st Brigade Combat Team, and that was back then in 2013. He also posted an online resume where he describes how he graduated from Central Texas College in 2010 and he received a bachelor's degree from Georgia State University in 2017. Georgia State does confirm that he did attend there and did graduate. And Texas records also show that he had a real estate license from 2019 and it expired in 2023. And then the last thing, Wolf, that we found really interesting, because it sort of lays the financial picture of his life currently, is that he was in a divorce with his first wife, and that in 2012, she had sued him for child support. But in 2022, he had submitted an email talking about how he was struggling financially. He wrote that he had fallen behind in house payments, that he feared that he was nearing foreclosure, that he was behind more than $27,000 in payments. He also wrote that the business that he had talked about in the YouTube video, that it had also not made money. He'd lost $28,000, and he was $16,000 in credit card debt, Wolf.
Lots of new information. Kyung-La, thank you. Omar Jimenez, thanks to you as well. I want to break all of this down with our law enforcement experts. Andrew McCabe, let me start with you. What are the next steps right now for the FBI, and you're a former deputy director of the FBI, as they try to determine who the individuals placing these improvised explosive devices in the area are?
Absolutely, Wolf. That is priority one for the FBI right now, to identify and locate those individuals who they have captured in the surveillance video, placing the IED devices, which at least two of which have been rendered safe, and therefore are probably providing the Bureau with some evidence that they can use to compare to the device and the other evidence that's been recovered from the truck. And so they may have a solid forensic connection between the IEDs, which would only confirm their suspicion that those three men and one woman are related to or working in concert with the driver of the truck. So that's the biggest potential threat the Bureau is probably focused on right now. And they are
Pigs. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is the flag on the car in the initial video when he's driving in? Because I didn't see that. Like, I don't know when the flag was planted on the car. It might have been covered. It's on, but wrapped up on the back. Oh, okay. So it was rolled up. It was not in the car. It was in the cab. People are saying some people have said the flag was inside of the cab. Some people are saying the flag was rolled up in the back and then someone unveiled it. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I have no idea.
Incident, and now this one that is also being investigated as this possible terror attack.
Stay with me if you can. Okay, I want to bring in Tom Winter to talk more about this, then also shifting gears, obviously, to what we've been following all day out of New Orleans. Tom, I know you're wearing two hats now, two potential terror attacks now that we're looking at in this country, the first day of 2025. If you can add on to some of what Emily was just talking about with her reporting here.
Right. So Emily referenced a lot of what we've been saying. My colleagues, Kelly O'Donnell, as well as Andrew Blankstein out west, who covers our West Coast. Basically, there's some
then
things
look
that they
into
found in
it.
the course
Are you
of
talking to me?
investigation,
I
the way
will
that
look
the
into
car
it.
explodes. And Elon Musk, by the way, has actually just put out on his X platform that he owns details about this, saying there was either some sort of fireworks that were packed in the bed of the truck or a low explosive device. It looks to me like it could actually be a combination of both, using fireworks as a means of creating a detonation that eventually creates the car being on fire, as you're seeing here. This is after the detonation occurs, this video that's taken. I've seen some surveillance video. We're just trying to make sure that we're going to be able to use it and show it to you, that shows the back of the Cybertruck in the bed, as Musk describes, effectively kind of blowing out. This is not a truck bomb. This is not a Oklahoma City type level of explosion. This person would not be standing there if that was the case, but it is something that is being looked at as an intentional act. And the belief now is that it could become a terrorist attack. There are going to be other steps that are going to be taken at Trump properties, but it's not yet clear as far as if there's any sort of additional existential threat. One thing I do want to point out, when we look at these type of incidents involving Trump, involving a Cybertruck and Musk, whoever did this knows that we're in the process of confirming a name, knows that this is going to get a lot of attention. Probably thought it'd get a lot more of attention than it did if we weren't talking about 10 people who are deceased or more as a result of a terrorist attack in New Orleans.
Right.
But whoever did this knew that. And as we saw with the Trump trial, there was a person who died by suicide.
Here's
in a
the
very
flag
graphic
covered
and
up.
public
I don't know
way
if
in
they
the course of
covered it
that
up
trial,
themselves or if it
trying
was
to
covered
grab
up, though.
attention for their cause, not necessarily a cause against Trump or Musk. So we have to keep that in mind as a potential possibility here. But it's just too soon to say, at least what we've been told, what the motive might be. But it's something that we're definitely tracking closely.
So just a couple more questions on this, Tom, and then we're going to pivot to New Orleans. What is leading authorities here to say that they're investigating a possible terror attack? Is there anything that we can kind of put our thumb on to know as to why they see that as a potential motive?
Yeah, I don't have any specifics on that just yet, or at least none that are confirmed. And so I just kind of want to stay away from, I don't want to get into a business of speculation, which I know you appreciate. I just don't want to go there with so much stuff going on today. I do think it's important to mention that this Cybertruck was apparently rented from the same rental company that the suspect in New Orleans used. But we should note, to be clear here, there's no indication law enforcement says they found of any connection between the Trump Tower incident in New Orleans. They appear to be totally separate.
Yeah, important to obviously reiterate that as we're reporting on these two simultaneous stories happening that may honestly be just a total coincidence that they're happening on the same day. Tom, let's pivot if we can. I want to talk New Orleans and I want to talk about the suspect and what we're learning because this also is a fast developing story. Let's talk about his military service because we're learning more about his military service. I know that we've learned that he was honorably discharged. He served multiple years in the military. Walk us through what more we know.
Yeah, so 42 years old, as we're looking at there on screen, born in 1982, October 26 to be precise. He's a U.S. citizen from Texas, an Army veteran. They said at the press conference he was discharged honorably, pronounced dead at the scene after getting in a gunfight with law enforcement. So this whole idea of whether he acted alone or not is interesting. Specifically, Yasmin, this idea of whether or not there were other people that were involved in these two additional improvised explosive devices that we've been talking about today that were found near where this incident occurred. The highlighted image there shows what federal law enforcement says is a ISIS flag or ISIS-related flag. We noted that right away earlier today. By the way, Sayfullo Saipov, who is an individual who was convicted of the West Side Highway vehicle ramming attack, talked about putting a flag on the back of his pickup truck, also rented from a different company, also rented, but thought the NYPD would see the flag and immediately engage with him. So this is not the first time this idea has come up. But basically, we've got these two improvised explosive devices that were found outside the vehicle, found in New Orleans. There were some individuals kind of around those that were seen on surveillance video. Not clear whether or not they just observed those things and said, well, that's a little suspicious, or whether they were involved in putting them there. That's what the FBI is kind of circling.
Yeah, they're both EVs. They were both rented through Turo.
Is that he didn't act alone doesn't mean that.
But I don't know if there's any like through line here. It's just like.
So we just have to keep all those things in mind.
So we know two big things that they're going to be looking at when they're learning more about this individual, right? It is the travel, if he traveled overseas at all, who he interacted with during that travel, and also his social media history, right? What he was looking into. And we know, obviously, having covered terror attacks previously, especially ISIS-inspired terror attacks, oftentimes the interactions happen online, especially with individuals that are based here in the United States. Walk us through, Tom, what we're learning as the investigation progresses as to his travel and his social media history.
Sure. So there is an indication of travel, and I've been looking down just because we've gotten so many notes and so many different things that have come through from my colleagues and I. But as far as the travel goes, there are some things that are seen over the course of his history in 2023 specifically. They're looking into possible travel that he took between Cairo, Egypt, and JFK that occurred in June of 2023, and then a week and a half later to back to JFK. That would have been on July 3rd. And then there was another trip that they're looking into, a possible trip between Atlanta and Toronto, which was a round trip that took place several days afterwards. What was that travel about? What was he up to? What was he doing in Cairo? Was he seeing the sights, or was he up to something that he shouldn't have been? Did he have further travel from there? That's something that the U.S. will certainly look at. The FBI has the ability to look at as a member of the intelligence community, but that's where the rest of the U.S. intelligence community that looks at things overseas, specifically the Central Intelligence Agency, the NSA, and other agencies can get involved with, as well as this is well within their purview. Even though he's a U.S. citizen, they could start to look at things abroad about was he meeting with anybody who was known to them. So all sorts of things that they'll take a peek at here in the days coming forward. Hours coming forward.
How active are they, Tom? Because I know years ago they were much more active, and I'm not quite sure where they are now when it comes to monitoring kind of social media activities between some of these terrorist organizations and individuals here in the United States. I mean, how active are they in kind of online intelligence monitoring of that now?
I think you've seen this year several high-profile incidents that have been stopped as a result of aggressive investigation work that has occurred globally. And so how that specifically happens or comes together is something that law enforcement keeps to themselves and not something that we would typically tip off somebody as to how certain things happen, whether it involves social media or some other sort of form of communication. They're in as many places as they lawfully try to be, and that's pretty much all I would be able to offer on that.
All right. Tom Winter, I know you're going to be sticking with us throughout the hour. So for now, thank you for your reporting on that. I want to bring in now Robert D'Amico, a former supervisor with the FBI and founder of Sierra One Consulting. Remember, authorities revealing earlier today that they found an ISIS flag on the rental truck used in this attack. Rob, thanks for joining us on this. I appreciate it. We have some new reporting, as I've been talking to both Tom and Ken about this, contradicting what the FBI told us initially about the suspect not necessarily acting alone. And Tom said, you know, they could go back on this. There could be a lot of back and forth on this. And this is an active investigation. And we know with these types of things, it is swift moving and things change. Where do you expect to land, and how do you expect them to drill down on this?
I expect them to land, you know, with the facts. The facts as they open the case and they start looking at phones and social media. I think one of the real key ones will be if they can get into his phone, if he had a phone on him, if they can break the code to get in there to look at the encrypted apps. That's where these people are communicating. Discord, Telegram, all these encrypted apps that the government really has a
Is
blind
Discord
spot on,
encrypted? The fuck is
look at the
encrypted about
chats that way.
Discord?
Regular social media, not as prevalent as it was before. The encrypted apps are where they do it. So I think that will be key if they can get in there. The facts that come out, this reminds me after 9/11.
How is this guy a
when
specialist?
something happens and then all of a sudden you start connecting everything back
I'm a
to it,
fucking
like we're
boomer,
down
and
at
even
the
I
Cybertruck.
shouldn't curse.
And
I
it
am
may
a
be like
heckin'
you
boomer.
want to start off with it,
And even I
just
know
so if it
Discord's
does
not
have a
encrypted.
connection, that you're there and you're on top of it. And then once you can rule it out, you rule it out. Same thing with the video. I surmise that somehow they had seen this person, the deceased subject, with somebody or something that maybe tied it to him. So it turns out where a couple IEDs that were planted, might have been by the dead subject, were picked up with someone else there. They had to track them down to figure out that they weren't connected to this. It's really tough what you put out in a press conference, and maybe this person just wasn't, as in tune with. If you put something out like that, it really ramps things up. That you really have to monitor. You have to figure out what you're going to put out. Does it help the case or does it hurt it? So if they had a video like the Boston bombing, where they started putting it out, showing the subjects doing it, really helped the case out, that you have to weigh that back and forth.
I got to ask you, though, considering the fact that you are former FBI, you have this FBI special investigator at this press conference essentially saying they believe that, in fact, the suspect was not acting alone when our reporting is indicating otherwise. Do you feel as if that, or whatever time it is that you're visiting, oftentimes, which you, I'm sure, well know, folks are walking up and down the streets, they're on the sidewalks. I mean, pedestrians are really everywhere, kind of taking place in the celebrations that are happening. So it's understandable as to why they would also want to protect the area in which cars are moving up and down. But we were actually showing the video, Jesse, while you were talking about it. And it's an interesting note that you say that despite the fact that they say Ballards could have, in fact, protected those individuals as that truck made that right turn, it seems, on to Bourbon Street, that they actually weren't even supposed to be there. So there was never even a plan, from what I'm hearing from you, that they were even ever going to be there, despite the fact that they very well could have protected folks from getting hurt.
Yeah, the one time a cop doesn't fucking park on a goddamn sidewalk. But one time the cops are like, oh, I shouldn't park on the sidewalk. There's a lot of foot traffic. And look what happens.
Street. I think it raises the question of why you didn't have it on the sidewalks as well. And I had asked authorities earlier today if this is something they thought was just impossible, would never happen, or just something they hadn't accounted for.
That they thought it was impossible. It has literally happened before.
They were accounting for potentially happening. It wasn't something they thought would be happening. And I think it leaves, again, wanting for more explanation as to whether it was something that was debated and they ultimately decided they didn't need it, or if it wasn't even considered. And authorities at this point, have a lot of outstanding questions to answer. And what we got from that press conference today was they didn't want to get into investigative details because they're in the midst of the investigation, don't want it to jeopardize the investigation. We hear that all the time, and there's certainly merit to that, in many instances. Of investigating when things happen. But there were also multiple more questions about that and an acknowledgement from authorities that there may be deficiencies that they're going to improve upon, but they also didn't specify exactly how they're going to improve upon them. And they also didn't specify at the press conference what makes them confident that they can host a game here tomorrow safely. I did speak with a member of City Council after that press conference. She was present at the press conference, didn't speak there, and I asked her, I said, does she think that it is safe to have a football game here this week? And she said, there are so many resources that have been flooded in here to support the city that they can have a safe game. So you can imagine there's just a lot more of a law enforcement presence, it would seem. Certainly the FBI is leading that investigation. Federal partners, I saw a DHS vehicle, Department of Homeland Security vehicle out here earlier, seeing that they have added more barriers today. And of course, they're just, on alert, and you'd think the fans are that much more alert in light of what happened. But, I think it's still not exactly clear what they have found to make them feel, exactly confident about moving forward tomorrow. But they have.
What's ridiculous is people in this chat will laugh about this. What are you talking about, dude?
Slowing down the pace, they're speeding up the pace of trying to return to.
Like, why are you fantasizing about a community that's like supposedly laughing about this shit? Like, they're not. No one is laughing about this. This is a fucking heinous tragedy. What are you talking about? A heinous crime. What the fuck is funny?
In New Orleans. As we mentioned earlier, the number had previously been 10. We now have confirmation that number has gone up to 12 individuals who lost their life in the early hours of 2025 in that truck rounding.
The only ironic aspects of this is, like, obviously immediately hitting the most impactful part of this, which is, how will this hurt football? Like, they literally were just like, oh, but we also have a massive event coming up. And it's football. And this is football country. We got to do football. And they're literally going with it. They're going forward with it. They're like, yeah, no, it's fine. We still have football. They were going to delay it. And then they're like, we can't delay it. We're actually going to make it even earlier. Ironic parts of this that lend itself to satire would be police incompetence and the interest in, that's not funny. No, that is not funny. It's gallows humor. It is how fucking shitty our lives are in general. It's not like haha funny. It's more like, holy shit, what do you do in this situation? Anyway, we're not doing that any longer. I'm not explaining jokes in 2025 as much.
The areas in which this individual, the suspect, attacked, I can't help but think back to the Bataclan attack in Paris, in which many individuals lost their lives that day, and they went after soft targets, right? We have known for a long time these types of individuals go for soft targets because that is when people are most vulnerable. Talk to me first about your reaction to what you heard.
Okay, let's cover the CNN update. Apparently, according to CNN source, Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas involved explosives that include fireworks, gas tanks, and camping fuel. Authorities believe that it was connected to a detonation system controlled by the driver.
That source also revealed what was inside the truck, explosives that included fireworks, gas tanks, and camping fuel, and authorities believe that that was connected to a detonation system controlled by the driver. We're also hearing this same sentiment from Elon Musk, who tweeted out that they have now confirmed that the explosion was caused by very large fireworks and or a bomb carried in the bed of the rented Cybertruck and is unrelated to the vehicle itself. So he was clear to say that this was not an issue with the Cybertruck. And the sheriff also earlier said that they are checking for secondary devices. They're investigating many different leads, but he was clear to say that there does not appear to be any further threat to the Las Vegas community. That source also revealed what was inside the truck: explosives that included fireworks, gas tanks, and camping fuel, and authorities believe that that was connected to a detonation system controlled by the driver. We're also hearing this same sentiment from Elon Musk, who tweeted out that they have now confirmed that the explosion was caused by very large fireworks and or a bomb carried in the bed of the rented Cybertruck and is unrelated to the vehicle itself. So he was clear to say that this was not an issue with the Cybertruck. And the sheriff also earlier said that they are checking for secondary devices. They're investigating many different leads, but he was clear to say that there does not appear to be any further threat to the Las Vegas community. That source also revealed.
Dude, what a fucking way to start the new year. Like, it's actually insane. We're so fucking cooked. We're so goddamn cooked. America's already supercharged into overreacting to shit that doesn't deserve a reaction at all. These are things that do deserve a reaction. So people are going to somehow figure out a way to even lose their minds further.